Yeah, now I'm making films. I'm coming out with 3 at once, actually. Not all at once, but I'm coming out with 3 consecutively, hopefully within about 3 months of one another. One of them is going to be about the Christmas story and in the Christmas connection with the Amanita. The Christmas story is one. The shaman story, what is shamanism and how it involves psychedelic techniques and things like this. There's a lot of talk about DMT and mushrooms and ayahuasca, ibogaine. And then the next one is going to be about religion and the death culture, as Dennis will say. So I'm really excited. Next year we want to follow a heroin addict through an ibogaine experience and watch the process of someone kicking the junk, so to speak, because of one experience. And look up ibogaine. You'll read all about it. So that's going to be exciting. So suddenly making the shift into people thinking that I'm some sort of scholar, know-it-all, shaman, whatever, to saying just a filmmaker is very comfortable for me. That's something that I can cop to. I can make films because that was my background. I've always said that if you don't have a master's degree in what you're talking about, don't go calling yourself a scholar. That's it kind of does disgrace for people who have actually put their time in and made themselves something. So independent scholar, I don't even like that term, but some people use that. So I'm just like, you know what? Author, filmmaker. Fits, the shoe fits. So I'm going to run with that for a while. I guess the reason I forgot Alex was because his interview was kind of a surprise. And I met him at a festival and asked him to be a part of it, and he said yes, and I said, okay, that's great. I wasn't really expecting him. He wasn't on my list of people to interview in pre-production. It just kind of happened. It was kind of a weird experience because when I interviewed him, he was 3 hours late to the interview because he was driving down the street and a brick fell right into his window, and he had to pull over and have him change the windshield out of his car. And so I had a weird, not even weird, it was a kind of a blessing that I got to sit at his museum by myself waiting for him, and I just had time to just walk around and look at all of his artwork and take it in. And my list of questions for him that day was about this long, and by the time he actually showed up for the interview, it was 2 pages long. So that interview turned out just surprisingly well. I'm excited about him being involved. And John Jenkins, we interviewed him twice. I hope to do a film with just him next year at some point. So things are really getting exciting now that I've decided to shift gears and make films. Another fascinating thing that we were given the opportunity to do was to, we went to London and got to go see Stonehenge and things like that. That was all fun. Interviewed Timothy Freak and Peter Gandy. Went up north and interviewed Dr. Patrick Harding. And then after we had all of that business taken care of, we drove from London to central France, and we went to the Plain Corault Chapel. And it was a rare experience because when I got to the chapel, and this is the chapel that has the Amanita muscaria mushroom growing in the center as the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or the tree of life, and Adam and Eve standing on either side of it, taking a bite, or the serpent is giving them. So John Allegro, Gordon Wasson have shown this picture, a little clip in their book. So the pictures that I'd seen were just this big, and they weren't very good quality. So I wanted to have some actual film of this and some high resolution photographs of this. So we drove to the chapel, and when we got there, there wasn't anybody there. It was locked. And they were supposed to be there. There was supposed to be somebody there who, if you show up on that day, then they'll give you a tour, right? Well, that person was gone. So there was a castle just within walking distance, just up the road. And the sign in front of the castle said Plain Crawle with an arrow. So it was difficult to tell where the actual cathedral was or where the actual chapel was because the sign was pointing at the castle. So I kind of walked down and it said private property, no trespassing, this and that, right? So I stand at the edge and I see some kids playing 300 yards away and some adults sitting there having tea, and I'm like, hey, can you hear me? They could hear me, but they couldn't understand me because I'm in France, in central France. The language barrier was bad, but it was the owner. It was the caretaker. The property had been in his family for generations. So he called his, I guess it was his son or his grandson, who was about my age, over, and he helped translate a little bit so we could talk to one another. And he took me in and showed me around. My wife and I just had a blast, and we got some good pictures. We got some good film of it. So that'll be fun to present for the first time in a good quality, high resolution photos. But one thing that he did say, because there's a debate over whether it's a mushroom or a stylized tree, and why paint a tree that looks like a red mushroom with white spots. It's kind of a weird argument, but I told him that, and I said, is it a tree or what? I didn't mention mushroom. And for somebody who speaks French only, Amanita muscaria comes out of his mouth, and it's like, okay, he knows. And through his son or grandson, whoever this person was that was helping us translate, there was no doubt in their mind what that was. So the people that painted the fresco were fleeing from the Crusades. They were running for their lives, so they were, they had a secret. This was in the 1700s. It was a long time ago. Yeah, the three films that we're doing now we're titling Footprints of the Shaman, because the shaman has left his footprints all over religion, all over Christmas. The film is all of my film productions that I'm doing, and the film productions that I have scheduled in the future are all being sponsored, financed fully by Bouncing Bear Botanicals. It was kind of just on a whim that I contacted these guys. I'd had a banner on my website for Bouncing Bear for a long time. It's just an affiliate program as a way to maybe make a little extra money, right? And I contacted these guys and said, hey, I want to make some films. Do you guys want to be involved? I need a sponsor. I need some funding. And they said, how much do you need? Let's do this. So I said I needed this much, and in the end, they just said, well, you're going to do 3 films? How about what do you need? Keep doing it. And so they've been, Bouncing Bear has changed my life, and hopefully I can help change some other people's lives by what we're doing together. So yeah, I'm very thankful for them.